The ego orientation is the myopic, close-fisted state. That is why a lot of spiritual teachings point to letting go, releasing, right? Releasing the clenched fist. And what can be noted is that there seems to be you can say, reluctance or fear of letting go, of releasing the closed fist. Because within the closed fist is a sense of safety. It's a sense of comfort in the familiar, right? In the known. Physically, you can imagine when you wrap yourself in a blanket, there's a sense of safety, right? There's a sense of coziness. There is this comfort in this enclosement, right? And so the reluctance or the fear of releasing the closed fist, of letting go, surrender, is the concept or idea of losing. If I release, if I let go, I lose this sense of comfort, this sense of safety, this sense of control, this sense of guardedness, this sense of protectedness, quote unquote, right? You can say that seems to be the offer of the close-fisted orientation, right? It's like a protection, a covering, a safety mechanism. And releasing that is like opening you up to danger, to unsafety, to being unguarded and vulnerable. And it's as if, you're not protected and you're gonna be harmed or die or something, right? But that's you can say, the limited definition of the ego mind. It's this or that. It's very divisive, right? It's very black and white. What's helpful to note is that these are, you can say, good qualities. These are preferred or desired parameters, you can say, right? Safety, security, comfort, being guarded and protected, and not being out of control, right? These are, generally desired, preferred qualities. And so that's the thing. The true nature or desired goodness, right? These preferred qualities are contained in isness. It's not excluded, you can say, from the provision from source. These qualities are not exclusive in the close-fisted ego orientation. It's not like, oh, it's only contained here. When you release the hold, you can say that these things that we are so, uptight about, we are so possessive about, is not gonna be quote unquote gone. Or it doesn't mean that, oh, it's now lost and I'm now in danger or something. These attributes are not excluded from isness. It's not excluded from the dimension or orientation of yesness. Because the ego orientation is notness, right? It's not here. It's not happening. It's not the case. Therefore, I must go do it. Therefore, I must go secure it. Therefore, I must go, etc. The ego orientation is actually notness. And releasing the notness in exchange, quote unquote, for yesness actually puts you in yesness, And so you're not gonna lose the yesness of, you can say, guardedness or protectedness or comfort or the idea of control, right? You can say that what you lose is the egoic holding of it. You can say it's now returned to the true hands. It's released from the ego hands, from the false self's hand, and quote unquote return to the true hands. So it's not lost per se, it's just that it's released from the, you can say, from the psychotic ego realm, from the narcissistic, fearful realm. As we know, fear is one of the hallmarks of the ego realm, right? When we are in ego, fear is the, you can say, running factor, the motivation of the ego dimension. There's always this underlying fear that's behind its mechanisms. That's like the air or atmosphere of its world, right? And so that's the ego realm. In the close-fisted, constricted ego orientation, sure, you get a sense of safety, you get a sense of like guardedness, you get a sense of like quote unquote holding control or something. But that's the caveat, you can say, is that it's infused with fear. You kind of get the quote unquote the poisoned quality. You get the toxic version of it. It's kind of like when you're in a quote unquote dysfunctional toxic relationship. Sure, there's a sense of security, there's a sense of being comfortable in the known, in the role that you're put into, but it's infused or it's ridden with fear. It's ridden with toxic products, with toxicity. And so, that's why a lot of people find it hard to leave these kinds of situations because the idea or definition is that I'm gonna lose this sense of security. I'm gonna lose this sense of comfort in being in the known. I'm gonna lose whatever I'm getting out of this relationship or situation, right? Mostly security and comfort, which again is not found outside of that. It's not found outside of the close-fisted orientation. You can say that's even the lie of it, that the ego, the agent of notness, is selling to us, right? It's selling that. Stay in my realm, stay in this constricted, close-fisted realm. Because here you have security, here you have guardedness, here you have a sense of comfort and control. And when you leave my realm, you're gonna lose all that. Right? So you can say that that's the sales pitch of the of the ego realm, of the close-fisted realm. Again, just as how, someone in a toxic relationship, when they're about to leave, right, you can say the narcissist partner will do all kinds of fear mongering tactics to keep that person from leaving, right? And so again, what is helpful to, you can say, revise in our definition is that instead of losing, these things, guardedness, control, protectedness, security, is that we get a quote unquote a different kind of it, you know, something that is not tinged or filled with fear or run by fear, and instead is, you can say, more pure. It's not infused with quote unquote toxic products. It's not driven by fear or by separatedness. And you can say in place of fear is trust, you know? Like when you get on a car, right? And someone else is driving. If you're in fear of the, you can say, capacity of that person to drive, then you're in fear, right? You are in this, tight, guarded place. But when you have confidence or trust, in the person, in the safety or capacity of the person, then you are in a relaxed place. And so the previous orientation is that you're guarded, right? So it's as if you're holding guardedness. It's as if it's here that you get this sense of protectedness and guardedness, you know? And in the other orientation, there is relaxation and trust. And yet, actually, the sense of safety or guardedness or comfort is not lost. In fact, again, it's more free, it's more free flowing, it's more pure, you can say. So that's the analogy. One is driven by fear, and the other is, you can say, enjoyed in trust. The isness of the quality, of the desired quality, is enjoyed in trust, in love and trust, not out of fear and greed and, like separatedness, right? That's the signature parameter in the ego dimension. It doesn't want to release because, again, it thinks or it equates it to loss. It wants it to be privatized. It doesn't want communal and free for all. It wants capitalism. It wants privatization. It wants hoarding and seizing, hijacking and colonization. It has no trust, right? It has hijacked, the idea of control and possession, and is playing God, you can say. The notness dimension is playing God, is quote unquote, is trying to be isness. When isness is the one that contains inherent control, the inherent resource, provision, inherent givingness, all the true nature qualities, etc. The ego is hijacking that. I am that. I'm the one who's gonna control. I'm the one who's gonna be the provider. Hence, I'm gonna, hoard the resources. I'm gonna do capitalism and colonization. I'm gonna be isness. I'm gonna be source. And of course, the ego dimension is the upside down world, right? So it's going to be the twisted version of isness, of the ultimate provider, of the true source, right? When true source is unconditional, is equal, is communal, is fair, is just, then the ego mind, the ego doer, will be the opposite of that, right? Will be conditional, will make things unequal and hierarchical and unjust. It will operate by way of exploitation and predatoriness, will make it difficult for everyone, will make you, quote unquote, work hard for it or meet a list of standards or whatever before it dispense it to you, as if it's the real source, right? But that's how the ego acts. It's a narcissist. The true source is the true provider. It's unconditional, communal, free for all, ever available, ever here. The upside down of that is the twisted version, the ego version, which is full of greed, full of conditions. It's gonna enslave you for you to be, quote unquote, dispensed whatever it claims, whatever it claims it holds or whatever it hoarded onto itself. And it's gonna try to control every little thing. Again, it's gonna play God. It's gonna try to control the world and humans and the planet Earth. And so yeah, that's the Earth 3D world that we live in. It's run by these kinds of people. It's the diametric opposite. It's the mirror or reflection of the exact opposite of the true provider, of the true source, you can say. Anything that is placed in the ego's hands becomes corrupted or twisted. It's like it becomes poison. It becomes infused with toxicity. Power, when, held by the ego, by the ego's hand, it becomes abusive power. It becomes controlling and oppressive and maniacal. It becomes insane, right? Anything that the ego encloses itself around, that quality becomes corrupted. It becomes insane. It becomes twisted and distorted. And so this is all according to our choice. If we want, the true version of something, then we release. If we want to enjoy the idea of protectedness or guardedness or control or comfort, the clean version of it, the clean, clear version of it, then we release. Because the moment we enclose becomes corrupted, it becomes infused with fear, division, etc. Just as how enclosed, stagnant water becomes bad and dirty compared to or as opposed to flowing water, water that's freely running and flowing, right? And so, as I've mentioned in my previous recording, it's a shifting, it's a shifting of this dependency from the, we can say, toxic provider, right? The narcissist, to the true provider, to the true source. From the quote unquote, the false God to the true God, to the true isness. Because we're also the ones feeding, we're the ones feeding it with power and authority, right? When we go into fear or victimization or again seeing them as some kind of authority, the more that our currency is fed to that, the more that our energy is bled to that. And the question can be how to go about it, because we live in a system, right? Living on this planet, you can say that we have no choice but to be under the system that are put in place. And as an individual, we can't possibly change the system or anything. But what we can do is put our charging to the true, again, to the true source. Instead of it ending there, right? Feeding the you can say the corrupt system, constantly, feeling victimized and hopeless and being disempowered, etc. Yeah, again, the more that we feed authority to the system, right? The more we feed energy and power to the system, if we do that. It's always more helpful as an individual is to, you can say, credit, direct the credit to the true source. Give it attention and credit instead of it ending, right? Instead of this currency or feeding ending in the system, the physical reality being solid and ending there, like hitting a wall, right? Allow it to be transparent, you know? So imagine that the energy or currency goes through the transparency and right through source, to where it's due, to where the credit is due, right? To where true power lies. Giving credit to the true provider, to the true source, to the true power, to that which is the one holding true control, true authority, all the true nature qualities, right? And so you can say that even though we are living within the system, in all its, bureaucracies and red tapes, lopsided rules, brainwashings, corruption, and propagandas, you can say that our attention is through it, is pierced through it. It doesn't end there. The credit is granted or is pierced through it and given or directed to, again, the true source. It's like being in recognition, being in recognition of the true provider, being in recognition of the true God, and having our, you could say, devotion or dependency onto that instead of some external element. Instead of directing this devotion, this servitude or this reliance or dependence or trust, right, onto any external element, it's directed towards the true source, right? Instead of the middleman, instead of the, you can say, the twisted, toxic middlemen who are dispensing according to their will, it's giving the invisible the credence, you can say. And this is not about denouncing physicality or having no care, right? And just not caring about the physical experience anymore and just meditating in a cave somewhere until death. The current human experience is not about that. It's and both, right? The divine and human, the physical. It's not throwing it away, but it's recognizing its source, it's recognizing that all this is provided by the true provider, by the true source. It's all made allowed or dispensed, right? All of this is, born, is made to exist or dispensed by the true source. So the source of all this is the true source, and so it's going right through the middleman and recognizing or giving attention to that, having it as your true source or provider. Years ago, I had this sort of, you could say, magical experience. Without going to details, I was put in such a devastated place. Yeah, there was this situation, and I was so devastated that I surrendered. And I just asked God that if there's something that fits me or that is aligned with me to do on this planet, then just give it to me. Because I'm done running around. I'm done running around, presenting myself at some organization, looking to be accepted, applying in different companies, me running from here to there, right, like a dog. And in my state of doneness at that time, in my devastation, I was so done that I just asked God or the universe to just give it to me. I'm done running around. Just hand it to me, And the next day, the income opportunity came. Just the next day. So it's kind of magical. And another thing happened when after like a year or so, when it's finally gotten going, it was shut down. Again, without going to details, but generally there was a mistake and my account was shut down and everything was gone. All the work was off the market, gone. 2 weeks have passed. I remember lying on the bed, just staring at the ceiling, and I was like talking to God. And I said, wow, you gave this opportunity to me just like that, and you took it away just like that. It's amazing. This whole world, can just come and go just like that. Whatever it is can be provided and taken away just like that. It's a very, you can say, temporary. It's like a simulation. And so again, I'm just like, whatever you want me to do now, you're the grand controller. You're the grand provider. I trust you. And for some reason, after that, like deep realization that this world is really such an impermanent thing, everything rises and falls. You cannot take anything in this world when you die, you know? But anyway, after that sort of conversation with God, I got up and I checked my email, and I had a notification that my account was back, that it is a mistake. And so that was that. It can be a coincidence, right? You can say it's probably just a just a coincidence that it was also returned on that same time, on that same day. But that's the experience. It's like a recognition of the true provider, because these things can be taken away. All the physical things, all the external elements, they rise and they fall. And so if your whole dependency, right, is rested on that, on the external elements, then you'll be more in fear, right? Because the external elements are not constant. Again, it's not the true source. It's like a stand-in. It's like a middleman. And so this is just to point out how, as an individual, since we still live in a system that is not ideal, that doesn't serve the all and mostly serve the few, then as an individual, what we can do is to not place any more authority in that. Meaning, even if something in the external world happens, you recognize the credit where it's due. You know, it's like a transparency. It's like the currency or attention is penetrated through the physical, and just recognize the invisible, you know, the one that holds true control, the one that holds true power, the one that holds true orchestration, you can say, the one that provides the true nature qualities and everything. Right. So even if you can say, the world or the system is not according to our preference or liking, but in recognizing the invisible, that the true control is in its hands, then we can rest in trust and have this dependency on it, knowing that is the true provider, recognizing that this contains goodness, that this is the quote unquote trustworthy provider, you know? And so it's up to us to treat the quote unquote the provision as gift. And how we treat something is the experience that we get, right? And if we treat something as gift, then we can extract benefit from it. There's always that stream of extracting benefit instead of fear or diminishment.